Was the government essentially playing politics all along? Did they ever seriously plan to send anyone to Rwanda, or did they really want to be seen basically as just doing a token gesture? Joining me now are immigration and human rights lawyer Harjap Singh Bhangal and chairman of Migration Watch, Mehmet. So I'd love to start the show with a little bit of a head-to-head. Fantastic stuff. I'll start with you, please, my good man. Do you think that the government actually ever really intended to send people to Rwanda?
Yes, I do, Patrick. I don't think there's any question that that was the government's intention. It's a pretty elaborate process to go to just to fool everyone that they didn't really mean it or want to do it. Whether it happens, look, first of all, can I just say that, as I've said, I'm pretty sure on your program and on other programs, Rwanda was never going to be sufficient on its own. It had to be part of a wider process of denying entry to those who are seeking to come here by any means possible. And that, I'm afraid, is where I do agree with you on that people should not be able to say, I want to come here, you've got to let me in. That is not what international law is all about.
Yeah. OK, all right, Harjap, I'll throw it over to you, of course, a human rights lawyer, an immigration lawyer as well. A lot of people are going to be very angry with some lawyers this morning when it turns out they're trying to put the skids on the Rwanda deal. Why are lawyers, essentially, in this case, it would seem to me, on the side of human traffickers?
The fact is, the law that's being passed to enable this doesn't come in till the 28th of June. So why couldn't the flight be set on the 29th of June? The flight has been set on the 14th of June. Now, either Priti Patel knows that the law doesn't go in on 28th of June. She should know she made it, right? Or that she's totally incompetent, that she's trying to get this through anyway. It's going to be up to a judge to decide whether Priti Patel relying on a 2004 law is going to be able to do this or not. But the reason is, I suggest the local by-elections are coming. They want a challenge to succeed. There can be no reason for setting a flight on the 14th of June when all the machinery for it comes in on the 28th.
Yeah, but by definition, that means it's popular. If the argument is that they want to get this in before the local elections as a way of getting more people to vote for them, then it means that most people clearly want this to happen, Harjap.
Yeah, but then they should have had the machinery in place before that. They've been going on about it for ages. So that, or, you know, you can't just do it to convenience of the by-election. So that's what a judge is going to do. If they'd said it on the 29th, it'd be too late for the by-election. So it is about votes and it is about pandering. And if this flight doesn't take off, then she hasn't done her job. Someone's been incompetent here.
Look, that is a good point, which is, I suppose, the double-edged sword of that, which is that if this flight doesn't take off, by virtue of trying to have maybe got it in before the by-election, then it could backfire, couldn't it, quite badly? But
and she hasn't done the job. And therefore,
to you, Al. I'm not convinced that when you look at the numbers of people that we might end up sending to Rwanda, is it that much of a deterrent, actually? Because most people who come across the channel will still be able to realise that they are probably not going to be sent anywhere.
Ultimately, on its own, as I've said before, Rwanda's not going to be enough. However, if there are people being sent to Rwanda and it turns out to be a significant number, in addition to other measures that will be introduced, I think that it will have a deterrent effect. So far, nothing has happened. And actually, the government, to be fair to it, has taken account of these sort of challenges. So in the end, it will be up to the courts to decide whether this is being done in accordance with our laws. But I don't think you can just simply disregard the legislation that has only been passed in the last few weeks, even though some aspects of it won't actually take effect until the 29th, 28th of June.
Yeah, indeed. Now, Harjap, I find it very, very difficult for people to make the case that these kind of legal challenges are about the law and that they're not ideological, because some of the groups bringing them are things like Care for Calais, etc. So these are basically pressure groups, right? And they instruct lawyers, and that's why they try to uphold it. So this isn't really about the law, is it? This is about politics.
Every case in front of a judge is about the law. Patrick. So it's about the law. If someone's trying to implement the law or use the law, they need to make sure they get it right. Otherwise, they are breaking the law. And we know what happens when it break the law. This government doesn't have a regard for the law. We know that. We've debated that so many times on GB News itself. And what should happen is if someone has failed to do their job, they should either resign or they should be sacked. If me or you had made this mistake in a private company, we'd be out on our ear. It's almost like me giving you a credit card or a debit card and saying, Patrick, go away, swipe away in the shops. You go to the shops, it's declined, and you look at it, why is it declined? And they say, well, it doesn't start till July 2022, and you're using it in June 2022. And now what the government is going to say, well, it's not our fault, it's the shopkeeper's fault, it's the credit card company's fault. But actually, it's the government's fault in this. They're trying to do something which might break the law. They've got lawyers. The government have got access to the same lawyers, better lawyers than perhaps what the migrants have. And therefore, they should be knowing that, look, this is possible, this isn't, these are the dates, these are the deadlines. Instead, it seems as if they want this challenge to succeed because it might be a vote winner for them to blame the lawyers, blame the activists, blame the charities, when in fact it's their incompetence.
All right, go on, Alp. I can see you're itching to get involved.
Well, I think that too much is being made of elections coming up. I really don't think that has very much to do with it. In politics, there are always going to be efforts made to win elections. In this particular case, this is not something new. And let's not forget what you mentioned in your opener, Patrick, that
yes,
there are already this year over 10,000 who've crossed the channel illegally, and it is illegally. They're coming in flimsy boats. They're leaving from unauthorized embarkation points. Of course, it's illegal. And they're also, as we saw over the last few days, actually risking the lives of babies and toddlers. That is absolutely abhorrent as far as I'm concerned. And the sooner we can put a stop to it, the better.
OK, look, both of you, thank you so much. Great stuff. That always an absolute pleasure. Harjap, Singh, Bhangal there, and, of course, the chairman of Migration Watch, Alp Mehmet, as well. Getting stuck into that Rwanda deal right at the top. And I'm going to go to some of your views now. GBViews at gbnews.uk. Marian's been on. Thank you very much, Marian. Agreeing with a lot of the points that I made in my monologue. Lovely stuff. You like to see it. Basically saying that these people are not coming here for anything other than basically an easier life. This is Marian's view, of course. Saying that they've passed through numerous safe countries. And this is a really common view, Marian, isn't it, really? That actually, you know, there isn't a war in France. And I always say, because if there was, they'd have already surrendered. And then they say, no, you can't say that on national television. But, yes, loads of people getting in touch as well about this. As the tax-paying public, Robert says this, and this is what I'm saying as well, right? When it comes to things like the Rwanda deal, I believe, anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, tell me if I'm wrong, I believe that the vast majority of people just want this sorted, right? And they just want a couple of planes to take off, because if it doesn't, it could be a nail in Boris Johnson's coffin. And Robert seems to think exactly the same thing. Phil's been on to talk about the people traffickers as well, human traffickers, and that's a real concern that I've got, right? Whilst people pontificate over whether or not we should be sending anyone to Rwanda, whether or not Rwanda is a safe third country, or this, that and the other, and lawyers, frankly, maybe make a lot of money out of it. We know who else is making money out of it, of course, human traffickers. And from where I'm sitting, it does appear the people who want to put the skids on the Rwanda deal seem to me, anyway, to be more on the side of human traffickers than they do to be on the side of humanity. Get in touch, GBViews at gbnews.uk.